All right, peeps, we're back. Long break, but we're back. We're rolling once again. Let me get this stuff going on here. Hope you guys have been well. A nice little holiday break and then a sick break. Holiday break plus sick break. I think feels very slow right now. I was just talking to my wife about this earlier. Let me see here 1 second. It's like things were so busy from late September all the way through um it's September all the way through the holidays. Things were just so crazy, so crazy. I feel like I barely haven't had a moment to sit down, and then Christmas happens, and afterwards, first it's like a little bit of relaxation. I finish a bunch of work Monday, Tuesday, and then I'm sick. And then everybody's been sick. Everybody in the entire family's been sick. Whatever this thing is, Omicron, as they're calling it, all over the place. All over the place. I've never seen so many people sick in my life. And my father and I mean, my dad hasn't gotten sick in 25 years. He got sick with this. I haven't been sick in a decade. I got sick with it. Um, but all things considered, it's pretty mild. No big deal. But that's been the situation. And then when I was feeling better and ready to jump back in, then I lost my sense of taste and smell. So just wasn't really into it. I would have done it. I would have continued, but then we're back here and we can get the wine again. So speaking of the wine, let's uh let's roll into it. Let's roll into it. So we're gonna finish off Alsace. I actually don't even know if we're finishing it off, but we're gonna touch on Alsace. We're doing France for the most part right now, but we're gonna jump around, um, do wines as they're appealing to me. And so today we're doing from I guess it's called Anne Il Anne K. Is that it? Anne de K. No idea what this brand is, but we've got a Riesling and we got a Pinot Gris from Alsace. Now I got to tell you this: if you guys are not familiar, if you guys are not familiar with it, Alsace is probably one of the best places for whites in the world. Just absolutely incredible stuff in Alsace. Um, the whites that are very famous in the place that you'll see well done are Gewürztraminer, Riesling, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Blanc. Those four. They do make a few others, I think, too, but those are the four you want to pay attention to. I can't even tell you how good they are, and it revisiting Alsace has been really just a phenomenal thing because what I just forgot how much they stand out compared to places that will produce Pinot Gris or Gewürztraminer or Riesling even. I mean, they're just such different styles of things. And I have Trimbach coming up for the next time we do Alsace, but even these ones right here, just doing Riesling and Pinot Gris. As you can see, I did, we did tap into these a little bit with dinner. The the Chinese food, really just phenomenal stuff. Really phenomenal stuff. So I'm gonna do a little taste here of Riesling. So this is a really flinty kind of smell. Very, very flinty. It's almost like if you were on like a construction site and you could see, the little dust that comes out. It's almost like you're getting some of the dust, that sort of rocky dust. And then you got bitter orange on the palate. Bitter orange and flint. That's how I describe this Riesling. Not sweet, very dry, phenomenal. The alcohol is a little bit raised. Riesling is actually a very dry area. Not all Riesling areas are dry to the same extent. And so Riesling is known for its Rieslings, unlike Mosel, which kind of sets the international standard, tends to be a little um, very like mineral, but there's like a very acidic, very mineral. Alsatian Riesling, it's got acid, but there's a little bit more heat to it. You wouldn't necessarily think of Alsace as being this dry area, but it's there's a lot of mountain ranges around that part of the Rhine, and yeah, it ends up being dry on that side of the mountain. All right, let's go to Pinot Gris. So it does not have that same level of mineral smell to it. More more fruit from the outset. And I'm not 100% by the way with my smell being back, but this is more of like a clementine, very like a sweet orange. So the other one was bitter orange and Flint. This is more of like a sweet orange, and it appears as if that there is a little bit more residual sugar on it. So, so yeah, that's the wine for today. Again, I highly recommend Riesling. Highly recommend you guys get on that. Ben, yeah, it's the same thing, man. Immune system is always really strong. We got this, but I have to tell you, like getting this Omicron thing, I felt I'm so happy to have gotten it. Not because I'm one of those people who's like, I gotta just have the antibodies. Like I don't give a fuck about that stuff. But I trusted myself before or after. It doesn't matter. But I really felt like it was purifying. I don't know. I feel like a lot cleaner since it happened. I dropped 5 pounds. All that holiday weight just absolutely gone. I probably didn't get my appetite back until maybe even yesterday. So just really felt like it was a nice purge, body resetting. So if you get it, don't worry about it. Don't get stressed out. All right, let's go check this stuff out here. All right. So first question. Ha, met a girl that I thought was into me. Everything checked out. Asked for her number after a few conversations. All I got was a hey after texting the first time. I was fooled. No reply after that. Like you said, move on. I said, hi, Pat. Is there a name for girls that play this game? I was legit fooled here. So I don't know. There probably is a name. I'm not really one of the people to ask for what the kind of new hip word and hip terminology is. It's I'm a boomer. I'm getting out there. I'm a boomer. No, but um, asked for her number after a few conversations. All I got was a hey after texting the first time. Yeah, I mean, younger girls are gonna play games. They're gonna play games for the most part because they don't know who they are. They have no sense of self, and so and they have a lot of other people who are interested in them. So they are the epitome of externalizing at that point in their lives. And so what that means in practice is that girls will they have a very short attention span, super short attention span. Drives guys crazy. They feel like I don't know why she did this, why she flaked, why she disappeared. I got her number. Why'd she give me her number if she wasn't interested? Younger women just don't think that way. They don't have a sense of self. And that's why a lot of game for these girls is if you understand that, it really is about just making them, if you can make them feel a certain way, it doesn't have to be logical at all. In fact, logic really gets in the way. As you start to date girls and they get older, there are more variables that come into the picture because it's a maturity level, it's a matter of her own psychological development. But you got to be able to calibrate this based on a girl's age bracket. Girls always care about how you make them feel, but there are more things that younger girls are just absolutely. I don't know why guys date them, to be honest. Like if you're an older guy and you're trying to date them, like I get it. You know, 18, 19, 20-year old just gonna be attractive girl. But the kind of personality you're dealing with is really it's I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Go for a girl in her 20s or even 30s, right? All right. So let's keep moving on here. Hi, I saw someone else ask, but could I run something quickly by for you asking to end things with somebody? I'm just finding it incredibly difficult to do. Feels like an issue with me. So I asked for clarification, said, basically been talking to this guy long distance for a while. We met a couple of years back, but didn't come of anything and started to talk more later in time digitally. And we've physically gotten together again a few times since then, mainly by my push. He's very emotionally present and supportive, but as time has gone on, I've realized he just literally doesn't take any initiative to talk about meeting up or making this easier or closing distance when he has been strongly claiming to feel such high levels of emotion towards me to the point where he says he wants to do that and knows I've grown a lot for him too. Now I'm just so over it though because I feel like he has heard me ask him very emotionally and loudly for more initiative for months. And he claims he is going to do everything he can now that I've threatened to basically cut it off due to being let down so many times. And it's just a mess. And I feel like I can't think straight. LOL. Sorry, but the last thing is he's 25, I'm 22. He has not needed a job since he graduated college and he's great. Um, he has not had a job since he graduated college. And he is great, very sweet guy, but lacks confidence and drive with seemingly everything important, jobs, relationships, etc. Let me know how I can tune into your show. Well, I hope you tuned into the show. Tuned in. Oh my god, okay, maybe this is the person. Okay, so whenever you have a situation like this, there's two things that could be going on, and they're not mutually exclusive with each other. So the two things are the person's playing games and isn't really serious about moving things forward. And, you know, this guy's going to be happy, you make all the work to come over and fuck him. He's going to be happy to maybe oblige that, but doesn't really want to commit to making things more serious and is using distance and all those things as a rationale to kind of just keep kicking the can, keeping you in the loop, keeping you interested while not having to actually give you what you want. The other possibility is that the person is immature and maybe does really like you and does want you, but you isn't ready to move forward and so is stalling for that reason. And the reality is that these two things tend to overlap quite a bit. 25-year-old guy hasn't doesn't have a job, hasn't really been doing any much with his life. There's probably a lot of failure to launch stuff going on right now. So we can say at a minimum he's probably feeling like he doesn't have himself figured out and trying to move things forward with you. It's For him, it definitely brings up a lot of feelings of inadequacy to do that. Um, he's got to be then like the official boyfriend. He's got to confront the fact that he's a fucking loser right now. He's not moving his life forward. And so, if a guy, even this happens with guys, like a lot of women don't understand that a lot of guys have commitment issues, not because of anything really with the girl, but because they don't feel good with themselves. They don't feel like a man in their lives. And so to be able to commit to a girl feels like they're totally losing control over their life, right? If they, it's very interesting. It's very similar for women in relationships with giving sex. It's kind of like, well, if I give this up, I'm going to lose control. For guys, like giving that extra bit of commitment to a girl, it feels like he's losing control. And the paradox is that a guy who's less established, less certain about what he wants in life is going to be he's going to have all these sort of issues with committing when it has nothing to do with the girl. Now, it may be that he's also not really that serious about you. There's a lot of things that have to go, like what kind of things is he saying? I do get the sense that he's more invested in this than most other things with girls that maybe he has going on the side or in whatever location he's at. But you don't want to get emotionally involved with a guy who doesn't have his life together, not because, oh, well, you're not going to get, oh, well, he's not going to give me, what he's not going to be like successful, or it's not even about that. It's just that he's not going to be in a good place to give you emotionally what you need because he's not sorted out himself. So let's keep moving on. Okay. I read the post a while back and just remember how it talked about how you can help a woman you're dating develop and grow herself. Um, I don't really understand this question, but I think I know how to make this work. I read the post a while back and just remember how it talked about how you could help a woman you're dating develop and grow herself. Take Taking her deep and coming back up for air was one quote I remember. The reason I ask is because I'm dating a girl almost a decade younger than me, early 20s, and wondering what I can do to help her grow. Not trying to fix anything about her or change her, but become more integrated and in touch with her emotions, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense. Glad that you actually care about that and you're interested in it. Look, you help a woman grow in a very simple way. You yourself continue to be strong and decisive and to be a leader, right? Like you're masculine, but what you're also going to do is you will encourage her to do things for herself that she needs to do for herself. So if she's okay, you're leading, but let's say she's getting to the point maybe where she's looking at you to do everything. She doesn't really know at all what she wants. Try to encourage her to, if she has some sort of passion, encourage her, help her to start it, help her to start that, help kind of like mentor her in a sense. Um, if there's some baggage she has to deal with, push her, focus her attention on it so that she can help grow through it. Basically, what it is helping her to take care of her needs better and maybe even anticipating her needs before she's at the point where she's even known how to deal with them. And so what you would do is she's got a passion for taking care of animals, so you encourage her maybe not to like get some shit corporate job or whatever. You encourage her to start an animal shelter and you help her to do it. And then so she gets the experience, she's starts to maybe run an animal shelter and she is or she's working at one at first, but really helping her to get to a point of being um, on her own edge, right? Because for a woman, a lot of her growth, in order to become integrated, she's going to have to go through the masculine. It's the same way that a woman can do that for a man by helping him to deal with his emotions, helping him to see, okay, you do have feelings, you do care about this stuff, and that can help to open up a man. So that'd be my recommendation. Pat, okay, this is the orbiter question. All right. C-Dub, I'm going to answer your question after I read the orbiter one. Pat, my girlfriend has a growing army of male orbiters. She responds to them more than I would like. Not worried about them, but worried about her ability to set healthy boundaries. Talking to her about it will make me lose frame. What do I do? Okay, well, um, you've given yourself no options. Pat, she's doing things I don't like, but I can't tell her because then I'll lose frame. Okay, so what do you why can't you tell her? Why would that make you lose frame? You know, a lot of the people in the red pill community are totally emotionally fucked up. Just totally fucked up individuals. I'm not picking on the author here, but I know where this programming comes from because what a lot of these red pill guys tell you is that avoidance is alpha. It's not alpha. Avoidance is emotional dependence. You're just pretending you're not. So you're gonna pull back, lean back, lean back, lean back, pretend you don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't. She's not affecting me. We'll go on the forums and talk about how annoying all these things women do are, but I'm not gonna ever show her that it's affecting me because I might lose frame. Why do you give a fuck? If you actually don't care what she thinks, why don't you just tell her how you feel? Well, she's gonna get upset. Oh, so you can't handle tension, is what you're saying? So you're saying you're trying to avoid tension because if you tell her that something she does pisses you off, if you show you're pissed off, then there's no frame here. Frame's all gone. No, you tell her you don't like it, and she causes a fit about it. And you're like, yeah, well, I don't give a fuck if you can't if you're upset about it. I don't like it. So she throws a big fit, but then she comes and sees that you're holding your ground, and that's how she starts to change. Now, this isn't a matter of you going crazy and freaking out. I mean, how you communicate, how you tell a woman how you feel, there is a tactical art to it. If you go crazy with um, ranting, raving, you get really emotional, you will lose frame probably because then you're going to feel embarrassed from the process of doing all that, losing control. She can easily manipulate you. She can hijack your emotions and make you into the bad person. But if you tell her how you're feeling, yeah, you can even get a little pissed off. But the more level you can be, the better, the more effective it'll be. She doesn't like it. She says all sorts of things about you. Who cares? Doesn't matter. You are communicating how you feel. So I can tell you it's definitely a red flag for a girl to be accumulating all these orbiters and then messaging them and caring about responding to them. It's a red flag. Okay. Now, probably she's a young girl and she's got her own anxious nature, which is why this sounds like an anxious avoidant dynamic between you and her. But that's not an indication that this has to continue. You have to let this go on. It's not a matter of, you have the ability to walk away if she doesn't take it seriously. You have the ability to walk away. Or don't you have the ability? Maybe you're emotionally dependent. I mean, that's the whole point of this is that you got to pay attention to yourself. Why can't you speak up for your needs in a relationship? You're afraid she's going to leave? Well, that you're not really alpha then, so to speak. Not alpha. So the question here from C Dub under the girlfriend has an orbiter issue. Should you, as the man in a committed long term relationship, be the ultimate gatekeeper for all male relationships? And the answer to that is mixed. I mean, I would say fundamentally no, in the sense that there's no reason you should have to do any of this stuff. There's no reason you should have to do it. Imagine if we were to flip the script on this, and I'm a female dating coach. I got a wig on, right? I'm a female. I'm a female helping women with their men. And if I were to say, you need to make sure that you know everywhere that your man goes and what he's doing, because you got to make sure that he's not meeting any other women out there. Okay, that's like psycho behavior. It's like loser. If you're a woman doing that stuff, you're a fucking loser. Well, I don't know what my man's doing. Maybe he's out talking to other girls. I got to keep an eye on him. You're a fucking loser. It's the same thing as a guy. If you are like, do I have to make sure what kind of male friend she has? Why are you dealing with a woman like that? You gotta like be on her. Hey, you know, stop fucking talking to this guy. Stop talking to this guy. Stop talking. Why? Why is she doing that stuff? You got to be a lot more firm. She may not be ready to be in a relationship with. She's used to weak men because she's got orbiters. But you need to lay down the law, and you have to be willing to walk away. Do not get yourself into a relationship where you have to constantly police her and make sure she's not going to just go out and get attention from a guy the second something goes off. Now, you may have a great girl otherwise, and she has this anxiety, and maybe she flirts with that behavior, and maybe you work through it, but that's fine. Nobody's perfect. But the point is, you need to understand the behavior is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And don't commit yourself to being her police force, policing her behavior. That is a codependent dynamic. It's a recipe for wasted energy. It's a waste of your time. You might as well just be single if that's the kind of relationship you're going to be in. So it's especially concerning if she either started accumulating male orbiters for the first time or ramped up the rate of accumulation of orbiters after she committed. Yeah, it's definitely an issue. It's definitely an issue if she is really trying to accumulate a lot at the moment. Because that indicates that something's happened, that she's looking for something. It's even worse than if it's just a general pattern, because then maybe she's got a general kind of validation seeking. This is like, I am going down a specific path right now to get different guys in my life. Doesn't end well. All right, let's keep moving on. I want to get through all of these, and I still got, I still got a bunch. Holy crap, still got a bunch. All right, Pat, got an ex that keeps popping up in my dreams. What mean and how to proceed? Well, the short answer with this is that um, if a girl is popping up in your dreams, it means that it means one of two things. This is not definitive, but this is what it tends to mean. You have baggage with that individual. So that girl, maybe you guys ended on bad terms, complicated terms. There's an emotional imprint there, and you need to deal with that imprint, right? You need to deal with it. So that's either going to mean that you need to forgive her. Maybe you need to tell her something. I would say usually you want to try to work this out without contacting them. But let's say I had a client recently had the situation, got into, had a really messy ending to a relationship. His ex kept popping up in his dreams. So we crafted a message for her, and it was very effective. And it was basically him forgiving her, letting go of the karma, um, cleared out everything. He stopped having the dreams. He started to feel a ton more relaxed. I would say that this stuff tends to also happen when you're going through an emotional shift, a breakthrough, because the so we can say it has to do with your baggage with this girl, but it has more to do usually with not the girl herself, but something that was embedded with the relationship, some sort of dynamic, some sort of fixation that you had. Maybe it was a sexual element, maybe she made you feel a certain way. And so when you're dealing with that part of yourself and you're trying to move past it, I don't even say you're trying to move past it. You are moving past it. You're hitting a breakaway point. You're going to get pressure from these psychic imprints from this girl, right? And so you need to release the karma, release the attachment from her in order to move on. in on a macro sense in your life, not even just move on from her, because you might have thought you had moved on from her. You might have dated other girls, and then she just comes back into your mind. What is this? She left an imprint. You have to remove the imprint. You have to let go any kind of karma issues that the two of you had. So that's when a girl's popping up in your dreams. Okay, so my generic question are: what are your thoughts on dating a woman who is way more successful than you and out earns you by a lot? I met up with a girl at SantaCon Saturday, spent the whole day together, and slept at her place in Manhattan. Even found out she loves tea, which really made me into her. LOL. But anyways, she makes 200K a year. I'm like your average recent grad from college with like a 40K per year job. As much as I think she's awesome, I don't know if I could ever have a successful relationship with her. Well, you know, this is a really, I'm going to riff off this question in a different direction. I'm going to come back to the main point. It's funny because one of the big things you see in the manosphere is that women don't like guys. Women are hypergamous. They don't like guys who earn less than them. They date across and up. So if you're a guy, you're not doing very well, woman's not going to want to date you. Is this true? Well, yes, it's true, but it's not as true as you'd think. Because a lot of what happens is actually not that the girl necessarily, you have some girls for sure. They're like, I want a guy who makes more than me. And that's that. Okay. But for a lot of these women, they actually don't really care that much. Now, would it be an issue down the line if you were in a relationship with her and she was doing that? It might become an issue. But in this attraction phase, when it comes to like, I want to be with this guy, it doesn't actually mean that much to the girl. A lot of successful girls have a hard time meeting guys who they really like and respect. And you would be surprised to know that it's not really like a financial calculus for them necessarily. That a lot of what they see in a guy is personality. Do they feel like they have a connection with him? How does he look? Okay. So when you propose this question, woman's making 200K, only making 40K, I guess it's not going to work. Well, that is you and your own insecurity basically saying, okay, this is going to work. That's you and your insecurity artificially closing things off. That's what it is. You have decided you are not, you're going to cut it off at the knees because you don't know what that's going to mean for yourself. It makes you feel insecure to be dating a woman who makes that much money because you feel like you're not going to be the leader in the relationship. And look, the reality is that it will be hard to be a true leader in a relationship if you are making less than her. It doesn't mean that the relationship isn't going to be good. And it doesn't mean that that dynamic may not change. Are you ambitious? What are your goals? Right? Um, so I just want to point that out. I want to point that out. If she's an attractive girl, you have really great connection and she's making a good amount of money, I don't really consider that a reason not to date her. I think that that's not dating a girl from a position of weakness. And basically, you're telling yourself that you don't really see yourself as doing better than her in the future. So you're not going to even bother. Why don't you go for a girl who's, you know, broke and doesn't know what the fuck she's doing? And then maybe she's not going to realize that you're nothing special. That's the kind of narrative that comes from this stuff. So if she's not interested in you because she's making more money, then let that be the case. But let her act accordingly. But probably she's not acting that way. Believe in yourself, man. And I can tell you, while we don't look for women who have money, it's not what guys look for. It's not like this target for us. It's kind of nice. It's nice having money. It's nice being with a girl if she's generous and she wants to go do fun things. Just keep your focus on you are going to be successful. You're going to get there. Um, don't let that don't let her income define your future success. I think I've made my point. Shalagon, it's good to see you too, man. Celine, it's good to see you. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna answer this one first. I'm gonna answer this one. Okay, so what if there's a great connection and tons in common, but the man's coming from another woman, but the man makes much bolder professions than the woman. Like he is professing love and she is not quite there. How does she navigate that without pulling a damper on things? How much time should pass before she should know if she feels the same way he does? Okay, so there's a great connection, tons in common, but the man makes much bolder professions of love than the woman. She's not quite there. How does she navigate without putting a damper on things? Okay, so I'll just say first off, as a guy, I believe that men should always be moving the interaction forward. So if he has these feelings for the woman, he should say them, right? With appropriate pacing. I don't think that you I think that you should try to pay attention to where she's at before you drop heavy stuff on her, right? But so the guy goes and he tells the girl, okay, he loves her, and she's not there yet. So what should he do in that situation? Well, he should be okay with it. And if she's saying, I'm just not there yet, right? But I do really love this where it's going, then he should continue to see her, but don't put pressure on it. Don't say anything else. Don't keep hammering it on her. Just continue to keep seeing her, continue to keep having fun with her. So that's how a man should handle it. If a man continues to dump his own sort of feelings onto her, it can become a lot because the implication is it's not that he just says, this is how I feel, and he leaves it out there, and then she has to emotionally respond to it. What he's doing is he's trying to force a reaction by continuing to push it, continuing to dump it on her. So if you're a woman and a guy tells you he loves you, let's say, and you're not quite there yet, but you do have feelings for him, you do think it's promising, then you want to be really affectionate and say, I'm not quite there yet. I have to be honest, I'm not quite there yet, but I really do want you and I want to keep this going. Like I want to keep seeing you. I would give also a reason, I just, X or Y, I just need more time to like warm up. I'm not as fast as a person when it comes to expressing those kind of things. Make it make it a matter of your own personality and your own sort of emotional speed. So it's less personalized. So it's not like, well, I'm not really sure about you yet. So like it's not about him, it's more a matter of you and the fact that I want to keep seeing you. I really have been enjoying seeing you. I just have a different emotional speed before I'm ready to say that kind of stuff. That's a pretty fair explanation. He should be able to handle it. All right. Let's see here. Ben, the way I see hypergamy is that women don't always measure status by money success. 100% they can't be attracted to lower status men, but status can be behavior, subjective social dynamics. Women who judge themselves by material success want a man who's primarily materially successful. Women in social circle game with the men's and with the social circle, etc. I agree with that, Ben. I'll also say this when it comes to women in hypergamy. Successful women, obviously, there is a category that will continue to want to date guys who are more successful. But one of the things that's really common, and I think it's more common than with women in other positions, women who are materially successful don't need, and who made their own money, right? Who, well, I don't even think I have to say that. Even if she has money, maybe she got it from like a former like marriage. Women who are financially set and don't really stress about that stuff, they tend to be much more into guys who are charming and good looking. And that is what they look for. The guy, they want a guy who is more physically attractive and who is more appealing to other women. And that's where the charm and stuff comes in there. They don't care as much that the guy makes more money. They don't want him to be a deadbeat, right? But they're happy to be the main breadwinner so long as they're getting good sex and they get pretty arm candy. And I know that that sounds like something that men usually care about in their women, but financially successful women definitely lean more in that direction. A woman who doesn't know how to really take care of herself financially that well, she's going to value much more a man's financial competency because he's going to be the gateway to her leading a certain life. Women who have their own money or can make their own money, they don't need that from a guy, so they will accordingly prioritize different things. All right, let's keep moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. With a low self-esteem girl, how can you play the pull away push dynamics, the pull push dynamic? In the end, is the end result always going to be the same? Is there something that can occur like a breakthrough, or will it continue on and on with no end until you end it, of course? Okay, I think I understand what's being said here. Basically, with a low self-esteem girl, can you can you do push pull? Can you do push pull and you know, if you do that, isn't it just going to be the same thing over and over again? The short answer is yeah, it is going to be the same shit over and over again. And a lot of people live their entire lives like this, where it's jostling for position. And maybe for most of the relationship, one person has the dominant position and then it flips. Um, a low self esteem girl will stay in that dynamic until something else triggers a self esteem change, right? So either your self esteem drops abruptly lower than hers, and then she pulls away, and then you go after her. Um, or she has some sort of awakening, and she finds that that pattern is no longer appealing to her. You can't know on a generic basis. I can tell you this though, there are a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that's been changing, like a lot of stuff that's been changing in the world right now with the energies, and the blunt truth is that people are breaking patterns faster than they ever have. They're breaking patterns very, very quickly. So you ask, how long can you play the push pull game? Some people did that stuff for decades, spent their whole life doing it. Now, I'm not so sure how long it will last for. I'm not so sure. And I actually think a lot of this jumping from person to person is an unconscious way of trying to break patterns. It's like, okay, I can't break this trauma pattern with this person. I'm going to jump to this person. I'm going to jump to this person. Um, there's a lot about modern dating that's a response to trauma. And we can say it's trauma caused it, but the thing is, trauma caused it, but then it's also a way of trying to break out of it, because you can only break programming by experiencing more pain. You have to hit a requisite amount of pain from the initial programming in order to break a program. Like MK Ultra, for instance, you will have to hit an amount of pain and fear that will break that programming. And I think a lot of what people go through romantically today, the shit that they put themselves through, and then they have a real total mess of a love life, and they say, I'm not doing that anymore. I've learned my worth, even if it's bullshit when they say it at first. Eventually, this becomes like a reality for people. They learn that they have these bad patterns. So I do think it is a way for that we have adapted to trying to heal in a kind of weird, fucked up, roundabout way. All right. Recommendations or discussions or questions to ask before getting married. Find out about their parents, find out about their family background, and then really screen and assess for values, vision, and views. So, what do you care about in life? What are your goals in life? What are your views? Broadly speaking, doesn't have to be exactly correct, but there needs to be some core overlap, right? Especially these days. And where do you see yourselves going? Do you see yourself living in a certain part of the country, a certain part of the world? Is there an intention to sort of live in one place for a certain amount of time and another place for a certain amount of time? You want to make sure that all the things that are required for you to build a foundation together are there. What kind of, are you religious? Do you believe in God? Um, how much of a role does that play in your life? Those are things you want to figure out before you get married. You also want to have an understanding about key things in their past, like people they dated. Not like, doesn't have to be an in detail kind of sexual history, but you do want to have an idea of their past, and you want to have an idea about their family dynamics. So that's what I would say. All right, let's keep moving. Hey, Pat, not so much a question here, more of a prompt. I heard this rough quote somewhere. There is a balance of masculine and feminine qualities at work in the psyche, but we are often encouraged as children to put the parts of us our parents were themselves ashamed of in our shadow. Thought it might be a potential prompt. That's very interesting. I'll repeat it. There is a balance of masculine and feminine qualities at work in the psyche, but we are often encouraged as children to put the part of us our parents were themselves ashamed of in our shadow. Well, yeah, I think that this has a lot to do with what we've observed as generational karma, in the sense that we will repeat the baggage of our parents. So we can see that things that our parents had issues with, that we have issues with, we bury them in the same ways that they buried them. Or maybe we bury them in a different way, but we still bury them, right? Some people externalize, some people internalize. So, for instance, someone, maybe a grandfather, is doesn't feel good enough, doesn't feel like his needs matter, and so he doesn't go and he doesn't ever he kind of works a dead end job and doesn't do things to really improve his family life, and so his family grows up, his family's a little more on the impoverished side, not super successful. So the son has that shame from his father, but maybe his response is that, well, I'm not going to have that shame. I'm going to go and I'm going to be successful. And so he's super driven, super motivated to not be like his father. And, but maybe if he's unaware enough, then he becomes greedy and self-absorbed, obsessed with money, obsessed with all those kind of things. And then his son sees that shame there, and then he goes and becomes like his grandfather. That's a very common pattern that children, grandchildren, and grandparents will act more similar than parents and children, but it doesn't necessarily go that way. But yeah, just as the play off this prompt, there is this buried the things that our parents are ashamed of, that goes in their shadow and it goes in our shadow too. Because shame is something you try to bury, you try to dissociate to, and then you push into the unconscious mind. It's a very interesting thought. Celine, my faith is big. I've never been pushy, but I always do strive to walk as a believer and be genuine. That's great. No, I mean it's important. It's important. And it's definitely important if you're somebody of faith, you want to make sure that you have somebody who's also like that. It's because it's just difficult to negotiate with. But I will say, some people it matters more than others, right? Like a lot of people don't care that much. Everything's much more polarized politically, for instance, but some people don't really care that much even still. Like they could get around with someone being a little bit more in the matrix. I couldn't personally do that. I couldn't do it. So my that's an area for me, it's too close to home from on my values that would bother me. But I'm okay with the person I'm with being a different kind of Christian than me. I don't need them to be doctrinally like locked in on that. But some other people, it would be very, very important that okay, they're Catholic and they would need their wife to not only be Catholic, they might need to be Latin Rite Catholic because it's very, very important to them. So we have values, but we have aspects of our values that are really like there's not a lot of wiggle room, and then other parts of our values where it's more of like a range. All right, last two questions here. An ex of my current girlfriend texted her a while we were dating, and she didn't respond. She ghosted him. I know this because I went through her phone. She didn't tell me about it and also changed his name on her phone to a girl's name. Should I confront her about it? It's a good question. So, ex contacts your girl, her ex contacts her, be clear here, and she doesn't respond, but she then changes his name. See, I think this is a bad sign, and here's why. Her not responding is whatever. Like, that's good, and that would normally be a pretty good sign. And she could leave the name in the phone like that and just have not responded to it. Or she could use it as an opportunity to block his number. But instead, what she does, she doesn't respond to him, but then she puts his name as something else in there. So she didn't get rid of him. She just tried to hide it from you. And more than that, the thing is, by what it seems to me is that she may have contacted him via a different medium. She didn't want to get rid of his number, so she just changed the name to a girl. But it would seem to me that she may have contacted him on a different medium. Now, I'm not saying she did anything with him, and it's possible she didn't do anything at all. She just changed the name because she panicked. She didn't know what to do. But it's bad. It's bad. What I would do is I would get more information. I'd dig and I'd try to find some stuff out. So if she has an Instagram, I don't really like endorse snooping, but if you guys do have open access, just to take a little peek through that. If she calls you out if she does find out that you're doing this, you can always tell her, well, look, here's why I'm doing it, because I know that you did this with your ex. You changed his name when he contacted you. I don't know why you changed his name, so I was trying to make sure. Um, and that's where the trust disappeared. And you can get kind of into a thing, because she's like, well, why did you check my phone to begin with and everything? You can say, well, I saw it come up on the phone, and then I, you know, wanted to see what happened with it. But you kind of get down this, like, none of us trust each other. I'm gonna try to follow and stalk what you do. I don't like that as a precedent. What I would recommend is just offhand ask her about that past relationship. And you could ask her and you could say, "Oh, have you oh, like, what happened with him? Oh, yeah, what have, like, you heard from him recently? Like, when was the last time you heard from him?" That kind of stuff. And what that can do, you can give her an opportunity to be honest with you. And then she could say, "Yeah, he actually messaged me when we were dating, but I didn't respond." And then you can maybe dig a little bit more into it. But that's an auspicious thing. If she says, "No, no, he didn't contact me," then you've got a real problem on your hand, and you might need to just blow the whole thing up. So, all right, final question. Long show, but we're overdue, that's for sure. To what extent should the way a man presents himself to the world and to the woman he is pursuing factor into how seriously a woman can consider him for a long-term relationship? What I mean is, if he has all other outstanding qualities but chooses to dress like a bit of a ragamuffin and sometimes have dirty nails, how should a woman respond to that? Should she say something? Overlook it because all other qualities are good? If she is sophisticated and well kept and he is not, how can this be reconciled? Does it matter? I hope this doesn't sound disrespectful. It's not disrespectful. It's totally reasonable. It's totally practical. I would say it does matter, but it's very. This isn't as big of a deal as you'd think. So, and what I mean is that it should be quite fixable. Now, is this guy going to be pristine kind of fashion star? No, probably he's not going to be. It's probably not something he cares about. Likely he's more of a cerebral individual. But look, if you're well kept and he's not, then you have the opportunity to, and he's really interested in you, you can, if you tell him this stuff, you can help completely transform how he looks and how he takes care of himself. He, he should change, especially with the appropriate delicate pressure on your end. I don't to me it's like, as far as things go, getting somebody to clean their nails and dress better is way easier in the grand scheme of things than having them change some core parts of their personality. And if you guys were to move in together and or to really, really be together, there's opportunities for you to even help. I mean, I know this may not sound super appealing, to kind of help show him how to dress better and to even kind of get some stuff. Okay, these are good outfits to wear together. These things are good outfits to wear together. It sounds in a certain sense like this is you're dealing with like a child. And look, Tanner would probably have a much harsher Tanner Guzzi would probably have a much harsher perspective on all of this in terms of tolerance of guys who don't really take care of themselves in that department. But if everything else that this guy's doing is great, but he just needs to be a little bit better on hygiene and dressing, this is stuff that can be dealt with. And honesty is a good policy, and you can tell him that. You can say, look, you like this is the main thing that's kind of holding me back, and I hope it doesn't hurt your feelings. But I find you really handsome and everything. It's not about how you look, but you just don't really take care of yourself very well. And I would have, like, it would mean a lot to me if you did. Like, I'd be more attracted to you if you did. And for a guy, a lot of this stuff is like, it will probably be a big wake up call. So the short answer here is don't stress about it. You should say something, say it in a way that emphasizes how you feel about him, emphasizes all these other relationship qualities while acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is that, he's unkempt. Basically, he's got to change that stuff, and um, makes a big difference. And he'll appreciate it. A lot of guys are like this, and a woman coming into their life is what pulls them together. And they're totally devoted husbands, totally, absolutely, deeply caring, phenomenal people to be with. But, but that's just the situation. This is something that their woman has to help them a bit with, but they can get cleaned up with the proper support. Tony, it's great to see you, man. Um, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Anyway, that's the whole list. This was a long show, and guys, already past an hour. We'll call it here. I'm going to do another one this weekend. We're going to go on a specific topic. I love you all, and I will see you next time.